Welcome back to the Shine Within podcast. I have here Crystal Fedeli. She is an international alcohol recovery coach for women who are ready to reclaim their power over alcohol so they can finally be free to create a life they absolutely love, one where they look forward to each and every day. Through coaching services and speaking, Crystal helps women learn all the different paths to treatment available to them, discover their goals, not other people's goals, but their goals with alcohol, pick the path of treatment that best aligns with their goals with alcohol, connect them with what they need to accomplish their goals, and forgive all those who cause them harm along their journey of fighting to heal so they can finally be free. Crystal has an MA in research and analysis, an MA in child advocacy and policy with a child public welfare concentration, and 10 plus years of experience working in the trauma and addiction recovery field. She is obsessed with helping her clients all around the world reclaim their power over alcohol. Thank you so much, Crystal, for joining me today.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And so I've struggled a lot with alcohol, and I'm going to hit my sobriety date, I think next month. That's right.
Congratulations.
Six years now. 6 years since I've had
Wow.
alcohol. So,
That's
but
awesome.
I had some challenges. First off, I didn't even admit I was an alcoholic until many years deep inside my alcoholism. So I remember going to my brother's house for Thanksgiving, and I was getting the shakes and everything, and because I didn't have any alcohol in my system, and I was feeling very sick. And I told my mom, can you go ahead and give me some alcohol real quick? She's like, no, you're not drinking. I said, please give me some alcohol. I'm going to literally pass out if I don't have it. Nobody knew I had a problem because I kept it a big secret. Now, mind you, I was drinking 1/5 of vodka a day in order to function. Mine was so severe that I needed to go through a proper detox. Otherwise, I'd die. So that was in 2014 was on Thanksgiving was the day that I actually said, okay, I need help. But I went to go get help, and I did this 30-day program. And of course, we did the meetings there. There was people coming in because they had AA meetings there. And, I met some awesome people. Everything was great. But what did I do after those 30 days? Literally hour, like not even an hour, 30 minutes after, I went to go drink at the casino. So immediate relapse, and I had tried this over and over and over again, but no result, because I was that was like insanity, what they say, going around and around, not getting anything done, the same thing over and over again. So I tried AA, I've tried the 12 steps, I had a sponsor, it just didn't work. So I would love for you to share me your background story when it comes to alcohol, and how you decided, alcohol is not for me anymore, and how do you help others with that process as well?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me share my story. So basically, well, first of all, thank you for sharing your story with me. I'm honored that you shared all that. And yeah, so basically for me, I started drinking just because it was this socially normal, culturally normal thing to do, right? College parties, drinking games, and they were really fun. I'm not gonna lie. Um, and so I just started drinking alcohol just because it was just normal to do. And then, a few years in, I started to notice that alcohol started to wreak havoc in my life, personally, socially, relationally, on my career and on my health, and just more. And I lost a job because of it. I was kicked out of a prestigious university, and there's so many more stories I could tell, but I won't go and rehash those. And so, I sought help, kind of like you were saying, you sought help. And, I sought help from therapy, from my pastor, from support groups such as AA and Celebrate Recovery. I sought help from, I went up to the front of church after church service for prayer. I prayed and journaled, begging God for the answer. I had an accountability partner. Oh my gosh, I really just tried any and everything. And any and everyone just had one answer, and one answer only. And that was that if I could not moderate my drinking through sheer willpower, then that just meant that I needed to abstain from alcohol, and that I had to do it for the rest of my life. And when I wasn't able to, it was because, well, that was just my choice. It was my fault. I didn't care enough about my career. I didn't care enough about those around me. I didn't care enough about my community and society at large, right? Because I mean, alcohol does put others at risk around you, including you. Um, because you do things when you are drunk out of your mind that aren't really safe. So anyways, but that just meant that I didn't care, right? I didn't necessarily want to get better. I liked drinking more than anything, according to them. And so I tried like earnestly for nearly a decade to just abstain from alcohol. And there were times where I was able to for, stretches of time. However, eventually I gave into those strong cravings and obsessive thoughts for alcohol that would come at, right when I woke up, and then, a half hour later, and then 20 minutes later, and then maybe I'd get an hour and a half, but then they'd be a couple minutes apart. Like it was just all day, every day, strong cravings and obsessive thoughts for alcohol. And when I eventually picked up drinking again, it's what in research we call the alcohol deprivation effect. I picked up drinking just like when I stopped. Like it's like no time had lapsed. I just picked up right where I left off, drinking just as much. It didn't take me a couple days to start drinking as much as I was when I originally, had put it down. I just was right back where I was. And I just lived that way for nearly a decade. One day I was really desperate. I mean, as if I already wasn't desperate enough. I don't know why I say that, but I really was. I was even more desperate. And it was right after I had my first daughter. And I was just researching this topic, and I came across a TED Talk. And the speaker had claimed to have found the cure to alcoholism. And I thought that this was way too good to be true. I'm just like, this is too good to be true. I totally discounted it. And then eventually I became really desperate again, as if I wasn't already desperate enough. But, and so I'm like, you know what, self, I could not try this, and it certainly won't work for me. If I do try it, though, it might work for me. Right. And so that sounds like it would be my happily ever after, but it wasn't. I went to my family doctor because I needed a certain medication to do this. And I went to my family doctor and I told them everything I just basically told you, what I was suffering from, how long it had been happening, how I just had been failing miserably. And hey, look, I came across this and here's the research on it, and I'd like to try it. And basically, that doctor answer was to counsel me into keeping a drink log and counsel me into, hey, like, well, after you have one or two, that's enough. Just, stop. And I'm just like, I just told you that I haven't been able to do that. And so I insisted on speaking to a doctor that was a little bit higher up. And so the clinical director of the practice came in and basically told me that she thought I was trying to go through the back door for treatment. And then I went to another doctor, and that doctor basically told me that I was trying to be a doctor and treat myself. I mean, these are like such rude comments that they had for me. And then another doctor's office just refused to prescribe me the medication and eventually told me to get out. And at that point, I was just really obviously discouraged. And because also at the time, I was a single mother, and I was as single as a single mother could be. My daughter's father, her bio father, basically said when I found out I was having her, if I went through with my pregnancy, that I'd be on my own. And so obviously I went through with my pregnancy. She's my baby, and I was on my own. And I had also had a very traumatic childhood. And so I did not have any family in my life. So I was really like as single as a single mother could be. Hence why I started my nonprofit, which is separate from what we're talking about here, but to help single moms who can't afford basic necessities. But so yeah, so basically I robbed Peter to pay Paul. I found a doctor who would prescribe me the medication, but he didn't take my insurance. He didn't take any insurance at the time. And so I robbed Peter to pay Paul, right? I took from my rent money and I paid this doctor because I was so desperate. And it was a big sacrifice, but I needed what I needed. And and I got the medication I needed very easily, and I just kind of got the medication, and I was just on my own to now figure it out from there. And this is where my miracle happened. Literally within 2 to 3 months, I was completely better. I call them episodes. I'm not sure what you called them, but just episodes where
Mhm.
I drank way too much and did something that wreaked havoc on my life that I mentioned before earlier when I was talking, had become less frequent. It was every other day to maybe twice a week, then to once a week, then once every couple weeks. And then at the 2 month mark, I had one more episode. But from there on out, if I wanted to drink alcohol, I literally had my drink and I was done. And sometimes I just had a couple sips and I didn't even want any more. Because I know some people, they drink just because to get like drunk or whatever. I personally do like a nice glass of red wine or a cold one watching football. So I do actually enjoy certain drinks, but I was able to do it, and it was just so crazy. It was like an out of body experience, being able to witness myself not want to even finish my drinks. So anyways, it was just crazy. And then eventually, I just lost all desire for alcohol. And it's just so different. Like right now, I'm not drinking at all just because honestly, it I don't want to. It is a poison at the end of the day. And I just I feel like that's what I want to do right now. And I have no obsessive thoughts. I have no cravings. And when I'm around alcohol, there's absolutely no temptation. I don't even notice that I don't want it, other than to notice that I'm not even noticing. And if and when I want to enjoy a drink again, right? Because Jesus turned water into wine. God gave us alcohol to enjoy just like chocolate cake. But now I know what I need to be able to enjoy alcohol. So that's kind of my story. The way I found really enabled me to just have my life back. I started my business, obviously, to help other women reclaim their power over alcohol. And, all the troubleshooting I had to do and the wrinkles that I had to iron out. Because like I told you, like I just got my stuff and I was on my own. Of course, there were things that came up, but at least I was able to work through them, unlike before. And so now I help other women. I connect them with the people that will give them what they need. And I really just I walk them through every single step of the way so they don't have to figure it out on their own. Um, so yeah,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
and I started my nonprofit, and the biggest thing is that I'm a present wife to my mom and kids. So that's the biggest thing is, my kids. So
Yeah. And I was mentioning this to you earlier. I mean, that's a beautiful story, by the way. I really enjoyed that. And that's awesome. Like just to wean off and not even have the craving for it. That's like miracle, seriously. No, but quick question. Was this medication that they gave you, was this the one from the TEDx that you were watching?
yes, it was the medication that she mentioned.
Do you
Yeah.
know what the title is of that TEDx?
Oh, what is it called?
If not,
It's
it's totally fine.
I know it's Claudia Christian. Um, I forget. You just have to
Yeah.
YouTube Claudia Christian.
Because so I'm 41, but when I was 22 years old, I had a best friend and she was an alcoholic. This is before I really started getting heavy in my drinking. I was just like starting off because her and I would always like go and hang out and then drink somewhere and get wasted and do stupid stuff. But she was going to go ahead and she was going to take some medication that actually made her feel like nauseous if she were to sip alcohol. Is that the
Yeah,
same kind of medication?
antabuse.
Oh, okay. Yes.
That's
Yes.
antabuse.
Is it the same
Yeah.
medication that okay?
Oh, absolutely not. And
Okay.
antabuse, I am so fundamentally against antabuse.
What is antabuse? Yeah, because that's what she
So
was talking about.
antabuse is one of the medications that you can take, and basically if alcohol is introduced into your system, you get like violently ill. So it just punishes you further for having a neurochemical disorder that is not even your fault in the first place, and it doesn't take care of the strong cravings and obsessive thoughts. It's really, I think, inhumane. Um, it is one of the 3 FDA approved medications to treat alcohol use disorder, but I don't agree with it at all, as you can tell.
But do we really trust the FDA first and foremost? You know what
Well,
I mean? So yeah, I can see exactly where you're coming from, because you saw doctors, you saw therapists, you saw, multiple people and sought help. However, they were just closing the door on you, saying, "Hey, nope, sorry." Why do you think that is?
well, you got a day to talk. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, seriously. Yes, I do actually.
um, yeah. So this is actually the topic of research that I am very interested in. So, what I think it is I think it has to do with, have you ever heard of the theory of first mention?
No, never.
Okay. So, whatever we are taught first, right? If I teach my daughter something, um, if somebody tries to teach her differently, like she's starting kindergarten in the fall, right? Well, in the fall, in 2 weeks. Um, and so if her teacher tries to tell her something different from something that I've told her, she's going to be like, what? That's crazy. That's not true. My mom said this. And so she's always going to question um, what anybody says about anything up against what she heard first. Right. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And so this is something that we are taught. It's just ingrained in our culture that people abuse alcohol because they are trying to cope with stress. They are trying to cope with a trauma. They are trying to self-medicate for a mental health disorder. This is what we are taught from the time we know anything about this subject. It's look at the movies. I mean, this is what the movies try to teach us inadvertently. And so we also are simultaneously told that, okay, so basically that means this is a behavioral issue. This is a choice, right? They don't portray it from a standpoint of truth, probably because they don't know, hence my work, right? That it is a disorder of somebody's neurochemistry.
Mhm.
I call it a neurochemical disorder, just like somebody like my good friend who was born with a disordered like inner ear. I don't know all the terminology for this, but she has to wear a hearing aid because there's some kind of disorder going on with the makeup of her inner ear that she just needs a medical intervention, some kind of assistance, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, thank God we have it so she can hear. I mean, I appreciate it and I want her to hear when I'm talking because I talk a lot, but anyway, no. And so basically it's the same thing with somebody who has alcohol use disorder. It's just a disorder of somebody's neurochemistry. And I can get into all the science if you want me to kind of describe what the research has uncovered when it comes to that. um,
Yeah.
and so we think it's somebody's fault. And so whatever we misdiagnose, we're going to mistreat, right? And so we're told that if you can't moderate through sheer willpower, you have to be abstinent. You have to be sober through sheer willpower. And if you pick up that next drink, it's just because you don't care, kind of like what I described in my story, earlier. And we just, and then I think cognitive dissonance comes into play, that even friends of mine, oh my gosh, I had a conversation with one of my really good friends a few weeks ago about this. And she saw me suffer for nearly 10 years under this ideology that I just described. She also saw me when I found the alternative way, well, not the alternative way, there's multiple different alternative ways, but the ones that I tried. And she saw me get better in 2 to 3 months, and she's seen me be better ever since. And then she saw me go on to earn 2 master's degrees where I actually studied the research and the science behind it, something that a lot of people don't like to do because it is very dense to read research, but I love it.
Mhm.
And conducted my own research, and she still um, is so committed to this belief, this ideology. So I think it's a little bit of theory of first mention paired with cognitive dissonance. So
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for sharing that. You want to get to the root cause, like you were mentioning before, the root cause of why are we drinking? What are we trying to mask within ourselves? Now, I just wanted to get your ideas as far as What are some reasons why people are masking, and how do you particularly help them?
Yeah, definitely. So I don't think it's a masking in terms of trying to, mask pain or, anything like that. Now, let me preface this with somebody could pick up a drink because, I don't know, a loved one has passed away or they had a bad day at work or, whatever. Yes, they could initially, like, let's take my husband and I, right? So I have alcohol use disorder. It's in remission, but I do have that diagnosis. He does not, right? If we don't get any kind of assistance and we both pick up alcohol, I'm going to full-fledged addiction. He's not because he doesn't have this, right? And so basically, somebody might, go to alcohol for those reasons. However, the very nature of the fact that I'm not going to be able to stop drinking without any kind of assistance from anything, and the fact that he can if he wants to, that's how you know that it doesn't matter why somebody started. It's culturally normal, just like it's culturally normal to have a piece of chocolate cake. Um, but the fact that somebody can't stop and then, the next day or a couple days, into doing this, I'm gonna get obsessive thoughts and cravings while he's over there completely fine, not even thinking about it, and won't even think about it until a couple months down the road when we go out for a date night again, right? That's the difference, is that for me, it's neurochemical. It's a disorder. So basically, my brain, my alcohol use disorder brain, when it has alcohol introduced to it, it just pushes way more endorphins than someone like my husband. And so for me, like, one of the major things that I use is medication assisted treatment. And so what it does is while my brain is pushing all these endorphins, the medication sits on the receptor sites and it doesn't receive the messages, coming from like the endorphins. I'm trying to explain this as best as I can. Give me one second. So I'm sorry, my brain is not receiving any of those messages. And so it's just me and the alcohol, just like my husband, is just him and the alcohol. So the medication just kind of gives me that crutch I need to be able to be normal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. For me, I think I was just like hiding stuff. I was just like from childhood trauma, and then didn't really realize I was like doing things like here I was getting into bad relationships, and then I got into alcohol, and then I kind of had that lifestyle. My first husband was a DJ. We were going out, and so it was more like from social to habitual to dependency, because I felt in my mind that it made me more confident, and I wanted that confidence. And that's what I struggled with, because I had very low self-esteem. I thought I was ugly. I thought I was just like, bleh. And so, but the alcohol made me feel like I can defeat the world. I can do everything great. But it really just destroyed my life. So I actually may have what you were talking about, like, because it made me feel good, and it's kind of like you were wanting more, you're getting more cravings for it as well. But then it became a necessity where I couldn't even drive literally without drinking. That sounds horrible, but it's true. I couldn't drive. So what kind of process do you take your clients through, so that way they can reclaim their power?
Yeah, totally. And no shame here. I mean, I used to literally drink while I was driving too. So there's no shame in it. I mean, it's not good, but I'm just saying, don't feel like you're alone in that boat. Um, yeah, so basically, um, okay, I'm sorry. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, you can ask me.
Oh, and by the way, also, I wanted to say that I can't believe that you thought you weren't beautiful. That's crazy. I think you are absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, you're so
Uh,
kind. Thank you.
yeah. I mean, I used to feel that way too. I also had a very traumatic childhood. I was abused and all kinds of stuff, physically, emotionally, mentally, sexually, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally get the whole childhood trauma thing. There was actually even a point where I felt like I couldn't walk out of my house and feel okay. Like I felt I was so ugly and fat. And
Mhm.
it's so crazy because now after having two kids, I'm like, wow, I thought that was fat. That was actually really nice. So anyway, um, so yeah, so I guess could I want to just ask you a question. Do you think if you had a drink today, do you think that you would just be able to enjoy a drink and you wouldn't go into full-fledged addiction?
If I were to have a drink today, I would probably throw up because of the taste.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what happened. One time, I went over to a party and then someone had made tiramisu. And I guess they
Mm,
accidentally drenched a lot of alcohol in it. And I was eating it
mhm.
and I felt so sick. And I didn't realize,
Okay.
like, what was it? I'm like, oh, it must be like my body was
Right.
literally rejecting it. Now, this is from prayer
Mm,
as well. I had actually literally prayed in my car while throwing up before work. God, help me. I don't want to live like this anymore. And my prayer got answered. Like 2 weeks later, I had pancreatitis, had to go to the hospital. I went to a faith-based hospital, which is kind of crazy because I don't know why the Lord led me there. And so but then I got better because I detoxed there. They were giving me IV and I was on a special diet, liquid only for the pancreas to heal it. And that was the day I decided, like my last day leaving. Yeah, about to discharge me. I was like, you know what? I'm done with alcohol because I was thinking about
mm,
my kids. I'm like, you know what? My kids deserve a mom. They deserve a
mm.
mother. We only have one. And how selfish of me to go ahead and just drink, drink, drink just for my satisfaction and not even think about my children. You know what I mean? So I was just like, that's it. So I went back home. There was vodka waiting for me, but I chugged that thing in the garbage right away, just threw it away. And then that was it. And then I started my whole new life, my whole transformation. I started not hanging around with people that I was hanging out with anymore. I started serving more, trying to like learn more about spirituality, all these different things. And it just changed my life. Like, yeah. And it's just been getting better and better and better since it's been out of my system and out of my head too.
Yeah. So you had the tiramisu and you noticed that it was kind of drenched in alcohol. I'm Italian. I love tiramisu.
So good.
Um,
I know, me too.
so and then that kind of led you to want like the vodka at your house, you said?
Oh, no, no, no. I didn't want anything.
Oh,
I was sick to my
oh,
stomach.
oh, oh. Okay.
Yeah, that made me want to throw up. I was like so nauseous and like literally the taste of it after a while, because I was like, maybe it's supposed to taste like this. Is this all?
Yeah.
And then I asked, they're like, oh, no, this is all. I'm like, oh, but I was already feeling sick before they even told me about it. I was like, my body was
Okay.
rejecting it. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Awesome.
Is that, I was going to ask, there's a particular reason why you asked me that question. Do people normally would then go towards alcohol and that would be like a trigger, like, oh, I want more? Or what do you think people would be doing in my situation if they didn't get
Yeah,
sick?
it all depends on the person, but I was just wondering because I know you were talking about the bottle of vodka and you probably segued from one story to another and I just 9 p.m. over here. So, but
It's okay.
no, so I'm
No
sorry. So I
problem.
just wanted to clarify. I mean, yes, the tiramisu is made with alcohol, but it's so like minute. So I mean, I guess it could happen and that could, trigger somebody's brain to then, want more, more, more. I was just wondering if that, kind of was your story. But yeah, I was just wondering if you did have another drink today, like if it wasn't so repulsive and stuff, that it is for you now. I was just wondering if you think that you would go back into full-fledged addiction or not.
I don't, yeah, it doesn't even occur to me to even have like a drink.
Yeah.
It's like out of my mind completely. It's just like,
Okay.
but like out of my mind where like I don't see myself drinking, period.
Yeah.
It's just like me, I don't mind people drinking in front of me. I have no problem. You can do whatever they want. Like it's fine. And I also coach on it too. So just like
Yeah.
yourself, and then so it doesn't bother me
Mm.
talking about it or anything. I don't get like triggered in my head. It's just it's something that I'm just like, oh, I don't need it. It's good. I'm fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So back to the question when it talks about reclaiming the power for your clients, what kind of process do you actually
Yeah.
take them through?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, the first step is just, sharing all the different paths to treatment that exist. I mean, if you tell somebody who was like you or me at that level of suffering from alcohol wreaking havoc in their lives, and, especially those who have only been exposed to AA, which I have no problem with AA, just as a disclaimer. I just want to put that out there. If it works for you and you are truly happy with it, like, as from one person who suffered from this to another, I'm so freaking happy for you. And I know that it doesn't work for 99% of people, according to the data, because we have a 99% failure rate, truly helping those who suffer from alcohol wreaking havoc in their lives to gain total power over alcohol. And so that's where my heart is with the 99%. And then for the people who are in the whole sober abstinence, path through sheer willpower, and they're truly not free and they're truly not happy. They're just doing it because they think that's the only way. So like that's my whole thing. And so yeah, I just like if you tell them that you can moderate, it's like, no, I can't. My life is going to be right where I was, when I was drinking. It's because they don't understand that it's not through sheer willpower that you do it. You can't do it through sheer willpower. Yes, if you pick up a drink and through sheer willpower try to moderate, yes, you will be back right where you were. There are other, paths to treatment, or excuse me, recovery, that are more than available. I mean, you just have to, know, because it's so underground, you have to know who's actually going to, support you in that. Like I never told you, but at that 2-month mark in my story, my therapist of 5 years fired me as a client. Remember, I told you at the 2-month mark, I had one more episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she literally fired me when I had that last episode, like therapy, where you're supposed to go and share all the crap that's really going on in your life. And I shared that to her. And she just didn't agree with my approach. Little did she know, I guess, that I would have literally no more episodes after that, one time. But the reason she gave was she didn't agree with my approach, because she just is so committed to the AA sobriety through sheer willpower model. So anyways, that was the case with that. But anyways, so yeah, you tell somebody that there's another way and that you can moderate, it's just so foreign to them. So I present all the paths to treatment. There's sobriety or abstinence, there's moderation to abstinence. I mean, 40% of people who go the moderation route actually become abstinent because they're literally not attracted to the alcohol anymore. It becomes disgusting to them. But you need to, have certain, interventions to be able for that to happen, for your brain to actually be able to literally do that. So that's the first step, is presenting all the options for treatment. The second step is really helping the person discover what their goals are with alcohol. And it sounds crazy, but it's actually the hardest, most difficult step, and that's why I say, like, their goals, not anyone else's goals, their goals with alcohol. Like, just pretend if anything were true. Like, if you could wave a magic wand, right? And like literally anything could be. What would you want to do? Like, would you want to enjoy a glass of wine, or would you want to have the option to be able to, not that you'll take advantage of it, but and that was a bad choice of words. Like, I don't mean take advantage of as in do too much. I mean, like, maybe you won't take yourself up on the offer, but like, just me, like, I know if I want to have alcohol, I can. I just know what I need to do to be able to do it. So that's the second step. And then the third step is connecting them with the path of treatment, helping them connect with, the path of treatment that best aligns with their goals with alcohol. And then just connecting them with every single resource that they need to accomplish their goals with alcohol, right? Do we require, a certain doctor to prescribe something? Okay, well, here's my people, because it's so hard to find a doctor who will prescribe you what you need. And trying to go to multiple different doctors is so discouraging when you are suffering from alcohol wreaking havoc in your life. And it's actually very dangerous, because you kind of need what you need, and you need it ASAP. And what therapist is going to support you if you want therapy? For me personally, I'm not the hugest believer in therapy. I mean, that's just me. I'm more about life coaching, because that's where I've seen the most growth. Now, if you have a therapist who it really is good at their practice, they don't just practice in a general sense. They've specialized in a specific, they practice under a specific theory, such as EMDR. You take someone who has been sexually traumatized, especially as a child. Talk therapy is so bad for that sort of trauma, right? But you do EMDR, oh my God, that therapy is like a miracle for that person. So, or what support group? Because there's way more than just AA out there. I have my own support group actually that I run. Um, and so I could go down the list of things, but what resources do you need to accomplish your goals with alcohol? And we write our own treatment plan, right? You go to any professional, they'll write it for you. I give the power back to that person. And then the fifth step is just, helping my clients truly forgive all of those who have caused them harm throughout their journey of fighting to heal. So that doctor who told me that I was trying to go through the back door for treatment, or the doctor who tried to tell me that I was trying to be a doctor and treat myself, or my therapist who fired me as a client, just truly forgiving them. Like, how do I truly, forgive them? And really at the end of the day, forgiveness, I mean, it's great. It's beautiful if it's for the other person, but really forgiveness is for us so we don't become bitter and calloused. And I was for so many years towards all those people who denied me treatment. It was really hard. But I was able to finally come to a place of truly forgiving, truly releasing them, and truly just wanting to bless them, like just speak blessings, onto them, and not from like some place of, oh, I'm trying and I got to say this, I got to think this way. No, a true transformation do I take my clients through. Again, not knocking on AA. Love you, AA people, love you out there. But AA says we have to go make amends with who we've harmed. And I think that's very good. It's very biblical. The Bible says that if we know that we've offended our brother or sister, that we should go to them and we should leave our worship at the altar and we should go make up with them. Very biblical. And I also know that the language and the messaging around someone who suffers from alcohol wreaking havoc in their lives is that, like you said before, like that they're selfish and that they want to drink. And now kind of getting back into what I was saying, that they love alcohol more than their family and their kids or whatever. And the truth is that it's not their fault that they were born with disordered neurochemistry that causes them to do this in the first place. And so, everybody who didn't know that truth and, didn't help them in any way that they could, you really do have to, I think, forgive. I think you do have to walk through a process of forgiveness, because the fact is that it hurts. It did hurt, and so you do have to forgive. So anyways, I don't want my clients being calloused and bitter. And if they are, I want to help get them out of it, if they want to, because I just know how that is. And you just walk around, you're calloused and bitter towards anybody who comes, in your sphere. And so that is the last step.
Wow, that's awesome. And I love that you give them resources that pertain to themselves, what's going to benefit and help them in their own path and journey to not drink or have the craving. Yeah. So you actually have a listener's gift. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, definitely. So it's called 3 Ways to Reclaim Your Power Over Alcohol. And if you go to crystalfedeli.com/3 ways to reclaim your power over alcohol. If you just type in your email, that link will be sent to you for you to get your complimentary download. It's a gift from me to you. And then also, for your audience, I will open my schedule up for 3 complimentary breakthrough calls. So I will be sure to get you that link. think I sent it to you. It's crystalfideli.com/breakthrough call. So
Yes, and I will have those links in the show notes. Are you also on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram?
yes, ma'am, I am.
All right, and as Crystal Fedeli then.
Yeah. At Crystal Fideli Ministries.
Ministries. Ah,
Yeah.
nice. Love that. Well, is there anything else you would like to share with the audience? Last words?
No, thank you so much for having me and for, sharing your story. I am so honored that you shared it with me, and thanks for listening to my story. I know that we have a little bit of a different approach maybe, but I so appreciate that we were able to have this conversation.
Oh, yes, absolutely. As long as we're touching people that need to be touched the way that we're touching them, it sounds kind of weird. Just to make a difference in their lives, that's all that matters. And that's what's beautiful is that we're all different. So that way we can help different people that need different coaches. And I loved your
Yes,
approach too. Yeah. Well, thank you so
thank you.
much, Crystal.